The Children of Lir. So, The Children of Lir is an age-old Irish story. It is probably one of the best known and world-renowned Irish tales, legends and sagas passed down. And it is definitely one of the oddest and strangest out there. The Singing Swan, babies. It has been pulled apart, changed, reshaped and stuck back together so many times throughout its thousands of years being told. Every ancient take was handed down orally by the local Shanachie, the Irish storyteller, that hairy-faced, brandy-soaked madman in the corner of the room, shouting the stories out as loud as his lungs would let. As I said, people of all ages from all around the world still know the tale of the Children of Lir. It still holds huge resonance and significance for thousands. It is actually part of a 3-story saga called The Children of Ishnach and The Fate of the Children of Turin. These stories are a battle between good and evil, set during pagan times, during the time Christ God was spreading throughout our country. So strap in, kids, here we go. Bode Derg was elected to be the new king of the Tuatha Dé Danann, to the great outrage of Lir. Lir felt it was he himself who should have been chosen for the honour and for the crown. Lir did not swear obedience to this new king, and the annoyance of those who elected him caused serious strife between the whole clan. Though Bode sought to appease his hetero life mate Lir, he tried anything to make him happy, but to no avail. After some time, Lir's wife died, and to appease him, Bode gave him one of his young daughters, Eofainn, to marry. Lir agreed, so alliance was formed, ending the violence. Eofainn bore Lir 4 children. One girl, Fionnuala, and 3 sons, Eva and twins, Fiachra and Con. After the birth of the twins, Lir's beloved Eofainn died, causing Lir great grief. He was a broken man, though he was kept alive by the love of his 4 children, who he would have done anything for. But then, Bode, being the soundest in-law ever, sent another one of his young daughters, Aoife, to marry Lir, which once again Lir quite happily accepted, because why wouldn't he? The children were a joy to both Lir and Bode. After a very short while after the wedding, Aoife became bitterly and hatefully jealous of all the affection given to the children by Lir. Initially, she even pretended to be sick for a year straight, just to get attention. But it didn't work, nobody cared. Then one day, she set out in her chariot, followed by her whole entourage, with the 4 children riding along with her. She was going to kill them. Aoife stopped in a dusty mount and told her entourage to kill the children as they stood there watching, screaming it was because of them that her husband Lir would never love her. Aoife promised all of her entourage riches beyond their wildest dreams if they carried out this act. They all looked at each other and said no, they were not going to be responsible for murdering innocent children. So in a pathetic attempt, Aoife drew one of her soldiers' swords and pointed at the cowering children, but she could not follow through in the act. The children cried and shook. So it doesn't really say anything next about the entourage or soldiers or whatever we call them. So I'm assuming that they just left. They just left 4 crying children with their murderous stepmother. As you do. Aoife marched the children to Loch Derravara and forced them all to undress. She made them walk into the icy water, and once in the water, she cast a spell of metamorphosis. Fionnuala screamed at her stepmother that the revenge she would face would be fierce. Aoife set a period of 300 years for the children as swans on Loch Derravara. Now, even though I am Irish, I do apologise for butchering these lake names and place names, but nobody's perfect, lads. 300 years more on Scrúch na Moilia and 300 at Iris Daman on Inishglare. Fionnuala also screamed and foretold that by expiration of the period of the spell, Largin, the great-grandson of the King of Connacht, and Deich, the great-granddaughter of the King of Munster, would wed. Aoife relented a little and allowed the children to maintain the power of speech, stating that they could sing songs without any equal, and they would not be distressed by being in the forms of birds. So not only did she turn them into swans for 900 years, she turned them into swans that could sing songs and chat away amongst one another. Aoife then returned to the court of her father Bode, who urgently asked where the children were. Aoife calmly answered and claimed that Lir did not trust Bode anymore with them. But Bode was very suspicious of his daughter and quickly sent messengers to Lir. On receiving the messenger, Lir was horrified, realizing his wife, the second mother to his children, had done something truly awful. He then set out and reached the shores of Loch Derivara, where he encountered the swans, singing with human voices. He cried. They told their beloved father of Aoife's evil act, and Lir and his people, their hearts broke, though the whole night they stayed and listened to his children's beautiful, melodic songs. Lir reached Bode's castle that next morning and told him of his daughter's sickening act. Bode cursed her, saying her suffering would be so much greater than the children's. Bode struck her with a druid's wand, changing her painfully into a hideous winged demon, where she flew off and apparently remains that way to this very day. Bode and the people of the Daedanan went to Loch Derivara and listened to his grandchildren's enchanting, haunting songs. The Milesians also joined. The music calmed and delighted all throughout the misty land who heard it. After 300 years then, the time came for the swans to go north to the cold, bitter and unrelenting Strut na Moille. At this time it was proclaimed that no swan in the country of Ireland will be killed. At Moille, a cruel, harsh storm separated the children, and though they eventually reunited, their time there was wretched, with extremes of cold, snow and ice. But they could not leave, as it was their curse to stay in these waters, their prison. Eventually the swans came across a company of the Daedanan and the millions who had been seeking them, led by Aoife and Fergus, sons of Bode. Near the mouth of Banna, the swans inquired and received good news about the Daedanan, Lir and Bode. After a lot of time, the swans left for Irius Daenaman. They encountered a young man who took an account of their adventures. One night, on the lake of Iris, the cold and the weather became so intense that all the waters froze, and the swans' feet froze literally to the ice. Because of throbbing pain and suffering, they stopped praying to their old gods and pleaded to the new God that had been widespread across their country for quite some time now, that God, the King of Heaven, to please ease their pain. And by that new Christian God, their pleading was heard and answered. From then on, they were protected from storms, bad luck, and terrible weather. So that just goes to show, if when in doubt, pray to God, King of Heaven, sort you out. Eventually, after what felt like eternity, the swans' time was finally up. The four feathered siblings then decided to go to Siad Finnach, where their father Lir lived. However, once when they arrived there, they found their old home in absolute ruins. The place where they grew up, deserted, derelict, and overgrown. They settled there for the night, but still, with the mentality of swans, they just couldn't understand where their father was. The next day they set off to Inishglea. There, many birds congregated around them at the lake. Eventually, wouldn't you know, a man with a plan, good old St. Patrick, and Christianity had once and properly come to Ireland. One day a holy man, a monk, arrived at Inishglea. The swans heard him ringing a bell, calling maidens. They were terrified by this loud sound they were hearing. They did not understand what it was. However, Fionnuala, the oldest of all the siblings, the one that they all listened to, declared that that sound of the bell, would be that would liberate them and set them free from this curse. And so they listened and listened and listened, and when it was finished, the swans began to sing their haunting, melodic songs. The monk, hearing this, stopped dead in his tracks, and after discovering it was the 4 swans that were singing it, he screamed in utter terror. After eventually calming down and pretending he did not ruin his best new robe, they approached him and he spoke. He asked them if they were the famous Children of Lir, the ones he had heard legends of as a child, but never actually believed to be true. The swans put all of their trust in this holy man and allowed him to bind them with silver chains. The birds felt no fatigue or distress in their situation in the company of the monk. They became friends. Eventually, the account of the swans reached Doich, the wife of Largan, the king of Connacht. She demanded to him she wanted the swans for herself. Immediately he sent messengers to the monk, who quickly refused, saying they were not simple trinkets to be sold and gawked at. This enraged the king. Who was this simple monk to refuse him? He went to the monk himself, and attempting to steal the swans, put upon a single touch of his hand to the swan's feather. All the feathers of the 4 children of Lir fell to the ground, revealing 3 very frail, withered, dying old men and an old woman. The king was disgusted at what he saw and left immediately. Fionnuala, curled up naked on the cold stone floor, turned, using her last bit of strength, and asked her new friend the monk to please baptize her and her 3 brothers and bury each of them side by side. He could see they were all dying. Quickly they were baptized, and within an hour they all died. They were all buried side by side. The monk, he had lost his new friends, and that, ladies and gentlemen, was the fate of the Children of Lir. Children of Lir is just an absolutely amazing piece of Ireland imagination, literature and pure magic. It's a good overcoming evil piece, but a tale that will be told until the end of days. It is everything you really want in a good Irish old mythical story. Got kings, love, death, family, jealousy, redemption, human voiced babies singing swans. You know, I guess it is everything. And of course then it's hardcore, it's sorrow and it's loss. Beautiful, absolutely captivating tale. Thanks again guys for listening. As before, if you like it, please like it, share it, please share it and comment. I'd love to hear what you think.